Hello and welcome to the Caring Matters podcast. I'm Liz Tassone, the volunteer host, and I'm here today with Ken Czillenger. Ken is a grief educator and very well known in the Cincinnati area as he has taught and not afraid of the topic of death and dying. And so people really appreciate your frank discussions about the topic. And Ken is with us today to help us to approach the subject of how to talk with someone who is dying, in the process of dying, or has a terminal illness. And I think this is an area, Ken, where people are just so afraid they're going to say the wrong thing that they don't say anything. They're so afraid they're going to write the wrong thing that they don't write anything. So tell us, in your experience, what's the best way to approach that subject if you know someone that's been diagnosed?
Well, the best approach is to try and be able to talk about it. The way that I approach it, though, this is my 43rd year of working with the dying and the grieving. And for many years now, I've said that the number one thing that I've learned in this work is about being helpless. And the way I define helpless is that when you're helpless, you're powerless to change, cure, or fix someone or something. And so when you're dealing with someone with a terminal illness, you can't fix it. And so what I like to say is that where you wear a t-shirt that says helpless, but the person that you're trying to help is wearing the same t-shirt.
Oh.
And so what I learned years ago was that oftentimes when I was the most helpless, I was the most helpful, because I didn't try to be somebody that I wasn't. I didn't try to have answers or whatever. Mostly what I did is just what I did is listen. And then another piece of it's very important is to ask good questions. Oftentimes you can even acknowledge that to the person, I've never been where you are. And so I'm curious, and so in a way you just interview them, not formally, but just by bringing up different topics. And so that's a very important thing to be able to do. And for example, at some point, one of the things that's good to have a conversation about would be hospice. To what extent as a family, again, depending on how many people you're dealing with, is it time to talk about hospice? And so I think conversation is a very important thing. And there's a book I read years ago called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So in a way you have to feel the discomfort, but then raise the question. And because most people who are ill, they at a deep level, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross years ago said most dying people want to talk about it. And so to take the initiative and do that can be very important.
Mm-hmm. What I hear too is that you're saying that the fact that you just acknowledge that you're not going to fix it, but be willing, despite that, to be present to them in that space.
Okay.
Without, and I think that's hard for people. Everybody wants to be the fixer and the one that makes them feel better and all that, but what I'm hearing is that the helpful place is to be helpless, to enter into it knowing that you can't fix it.
Yes, and that's very freeing in a way, because oftentimes you'd see people, when I was a hospital chaplain, they'd bring a Bible and different things. They wanted to find a passage in the Bible or whatever, when basically just bring yourself, and that can be very important to people. And so I think that's very true.
Mm-hmm. Just your presence, just your being there.
Just your presence, and then oftentimes you can get guided. I'm a great believer in one step at a time, and so oftentimes the terminally ill person will guide you, and just to learn what feelings they have, what are their worries, is there any, so to speak, unfinished business that they need to take care of. Let them be your guide. Or as I used to say, that you want to let the person with the illness be your master teacher. Just be a good student, and they'll guide you in different places. And so to know their feelings, to know what questions maybe they're asking, or just the whole area of prayer. And then often that's how you become wise. That I understand now at a deeper level how Jesus taught with authority. Not a clenched-fisted authority, but he had listened to so many stories and helped so many people that he had deeper insights in terms of what it means to be human. And so I think that's just very important. Is to be comfortable being helpless in that sense. That you can't change it. That's not the expectation of the person. They don't expect you to fix it or cure it. They know you can't do that, but they might hope that you come and visit them, or that you would be comfortable talking about it. And it really just takes experience to do it. I mean, and some people just have a knack for it, but other people, just by gaining experience, gaining confidence, that there's a lot that you can do for people.
I think it's sage advice to just that sense of going in it without ever thinking that you will do anything but be present to them.
Exactly.
And
put aside your books, even including the Bible, with all due respect to the Bible, and just be yourself. And what I like to say is that what's very important to do is to admit that you're helpless. It's sort of like we think of the 12 steps, that to admit that you're helpless, and in the sense that I described it earlier. Secondly, to become comfortable being helpless, because there are many situations that we're going to be involved in where we can't fix it, or we have to be careful like giving advice and things like that. And then, even though you feel helpless, reach out and get involved in people's lives. Now, I used before the idea of maybe having a T-shirt that says helpless. And I ask the students that I teach, I say, when you're wearing a T-shirt that says helpless, what number do you feel you have on your back? And they right away say 0. You feel that you don't have. But I like to say in the school of math, 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. In the school of mystery, 0 plus 0 plus 0 may equal 1,000,000. And that's really what makes support groups, either prior to death or after death, click, is you have a group of helpless people coming together. They can't cure cancer, or they can't bring a dead person back to life, but they can be there for people. Just as you said, just be present.
Very good. Very good. Well, this is just wonderful advice. I wonder if you could just comment on one thing, and that is, I've heard of conversations where, like, if mom is getting near the end and she begins to say, when I die, or I'm going to die, and the person right away shuts them down. Don't talk like that. Is there some advice you might give around that? Like, is it okay to let the person explore that? If you're comfortable with it, to just say, tell me about that, rather than...
That's exactly what you want to do. One of the things that I'm known for in my teaching is a microphone. And that what you want to do is keep that microphone with the person in need. And the temptation is there are times when you'll interrupt and take the microphone away. There are times when you have this need to fix something, you take the microphone away. You need to try to give somebody some advice, you take the microphone away. And people feel that. And so what you really want to do is keep that person with the microphone. I once heard it said that self-revelation is the primary sacrament of the universe. Self-revelation is the primary sacrament of the universe. And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. So what you're really trying to do is help a person reveal themselves, reveal their vulnerability. And that's really part of the human condition. And that's very difficult for many people. But I think it's something we need to do more than we're doing now.
Well, I hope, Ken, that folks listening to this will feel empowered to be present to the dying and be present to that situation. Right. And I love your analogy of wearing or not analogy, but that image of wearing the helpless, and they're also wearing the helpless. That's and right. How we sit together in that That's place right. of vulnerability can really be a powerful place. So thank
Amen.
you. Amen. Amen. So again, Ken Czillenger, I want to thank you for being here. And I also want to thank our sponsors to this broadcast that keep us doing these podcasts. And that's Vitas Hospice, Hillebrand Home Health, Home Care by Blackstone, Family Bridges Home Care, Lifespan, and Bailey. So thank you very much for those. I'm Liz Tassone, and always remember that caring matters.